Welcome to today's Explainer. We are diving into a topic that affects almost everyone, but is honestly kept pretty murky on purpose: car financing. Every few years that same debate surfaces, right? Should you lease or should you buy? And the funny thing is, typically neither side is really showing their full work. So today, we're going to actually crunch the numbers. We're taking an eye-opening look at how an entire industry managed to convince millions of people that paying for a car forever is somehow a smarter move than just paying for it once. Let's get into it.
All right, picture this for a second. We've got two guys. They're the exact same age, working the exact same job, making the exact same salary. One of them pulls up in a brand new BMW 3 Series. We're talking heated seats, the fancy heads-up display, and of course, that intoxicating new car smell. The other guy, he's driving a 4-year-old Honda Civic with a little scratch on the back bumper. But here's the crazy twist. The driver in that shiny BMW, he doesn't actually own a single bolt to that vehicle. He never will. And in about 22 months, he's got to hand the keys right back. Meanwhile, the guy in the Civic is quietly, steadily building real wealth every single month. To understand how that works, we really need to look at what you're actually doing when you sit down across from a car salesperson. You see, you aren't just picking out a car. You're stepping into a highly optimized financial negotiation.
So let's look at Section 1, the illusion of ownership, and what happens when you drive off the lot. To win this negotiation, we absolutely have to understand the true villain of the car market, and that is depreciation. Look, it's no secret that the second you drive a brand new car off the lot, it loses value. We all know that. But the sheer speed of that drop, it is absolutely brutal. By year 3, the average new car has lost a massive 40 to 50% of what you originally paid for it. What most people completely fail to internalize here is that depreciation isn't just some abstract, conceptual number on a spreadsheet. It is a very real out-of-pocket cost. It's literally money vanishing from your wallet, just like your monthly insurance premium. Only the dealership doesn't do you the courtesy of sending you a bill for it.
Let's break down the stark reality of this. Let's say you bought a car for $38,000. 3 years later, the market says it's now worth $22,000. You just lost $16,000. Poof, gone. And here's the kicker. Even if you paid entirely in cash, never missed a service appointment, and lovingly washed that car every single weekend, that loss still happened, quietly and invisibly, right there in the background. Once you truly grasp depreciation as an active, ongoing cost, the entire lease versus buy debate starts to look completely different.
Moving right along to Section 2, the hidden lease math, translating the dealership's secret language. Okay, let's dive into this and decode what's actually happening on that paperwork.
Most folks out there assume leasing is basically just renting. You pay a monthly fee, you drive it around, you return it. Simple, right? But the precision of the math is exactly where the industry makes its money. A lease payment is fundamentally just you paying back the car's depreciation over your specific term. That's it. So the dealer takes the current price, that's step 1, then they estimate its future worth at the end of the lease, step 2, and then you finance that gap in the middle for step 3. Oh, plus, a bunch of interest, fees, and the finance company's healthy little profit margin.
Now about that interest. They use something called the money factor. Notice how they will almost never just tell you the actual interest percentage? Instead, they'll slide a piece of paper across the desk with a tiny decimal on it, like 0.00125. Why do they do that? Well, because to the human brain, 0.00125 feels like absolutely nothing. It feels like free money. Whereas a 3% interest rate feels like a real, tangible cost. It's just an incredibly clever industry convention designed specifically to hide the true cost of the money you're borrowing.
Then we've got the residual value. This is the estimated future worth of the car at the end of your term. And here's the crucial part. It is set entirely by the finance company. A high residual value means you're financing a smaller slice of that depreciation, which magically lowers your monthly payment. Sounds fantastic, right? Well, until the end of your lease. If you fall in love with the car and decide you want to buy it, a high residual traps you into paying way more than the car is actually worth on the open market. And no, you don't negotiate this number. They set it, and believe me, they are very, very good at setting it in their favor.
And of course, we absolutely can't forget the capitalized cost, or as they call it, the cap cost. This is simply the price of the car for the purposes of the lease, and unlike the residual, it is completely negotiable. Every single dollar you negotiate down saves you real money each month. But you also have to keep your eyes peeled for all those hidden costs. I'm talking acquisition fees, disposition fees just for handing the car back, and the dreaded mileage overage penalties. I mean, 25 cents a mile might not sound like much, but it can literally hit you with thousands in unexpected fees when you finally turn those keys in.
So let's zoom out to Section 3, the 10-year reality check, escaping the monthly payment illusion. We're going to shift away from those tempting low monthly numbers and look at the brutal, long-term mathematical reality here.
See, leasing has this totally unfair psychological advantage. Let's take the exact same $40,000 car. If you finance it to buy, your payment might be a hefty $750 a month, but if you lease it, you might only pay $480. Naturally, as humans, we instantly gravitate to the lower number. But comparing these two monthly payments is literally like comparing apples to staplers. They aren't doing the same thing. The finance payment is actually building toward ownership. The lease payment? It's building toward absolutely nothing except the privilege to hand the car back in 3 years.
Now, what's really interesting about this is when you look at the devastating 10-year math. Just look at this 9-year timeline. If you lease that same exact car 3 times in a row, you are going to pay roughly $54,000 out of pocket. And what do you have at the end of year 9? Zero equity, no car at all. But if you buy the car, pay it off in 5 years, and just keep driving it, your total out of pocket, and yes, that includes maintenance, is around $45,000 to $47,000. And the best part, at the end of the day, you still own a physical asset worth roughly $8,000. The difference is staggering.
That brings us to Section 4, the macro view. Welcome to the subscription economy. If the math is that clear, you have to ask, why is leasing literally everywhere? Let's zoom out and see who this financial product was actually designed to benefit.
Leasing is incredibly widespread right now. Depending on the year, leases make up anywhere from 25 to 30% of all new vehicle transactions. And that number spikes even higher if you're looking at luxury cars. Meanwhile, the average new car payment has somehow crossed $550 a month. It's wild.
But here's the thing. Originally, leasing was just a niche product. It was mainly designed for businesses that could use the tax deductions or really high net worth individuals who were totally fine paying a premium just for the convenience of swapping cars. Or, people who specifically needed under warranty access for a defined period. But over time, the industry realized they struck gold. They transformed leasing into a mass market trap. It draws in everyday consumers who couldn't otherwise comfortably afford a $40,000 car by dangling that low monthly payment. And it creates this endless cycle of lease loyalists who literally never stop paying.
And this brilliantly illustrates the ultimate punchline of the car industry's entire business model. The captive finance arms of these massive car manufacturers, they don't make their big profits just from selling metal boxes with wheels. They make extraordinary profits by financing the depreciation of that exact same car over and over and over again. As the source material puts it so perfectly, the car gets sold once, the financing gets sold forever. Which brings us to a rather harsh truth. When you're watching TV and you see that heavily advertised $299 a month lease, that is just a subsidized starting point. It is pure bait. It's designed to get you into a small room to negotiate against a highly trained expert. Think about it. You might do this maybe twice a decade. They do this every single day of their lives. That massive asymmetry of expertise, of information, and of experience, that is the actual product being sold against you.
All right, let's wrap this up in Section 5, the final verdict. Making a conscious financial choice. It's time to separate the mere appearance of wealth from actual, mathematical, financial reality.
If you really want to maximize the financial efficiency of car ownership, the source math points to one very specific, undeniable sweet spot. Buy a 2 to 4-year-old used car and keep it. By doing this, you are letting the first owner absorb that brutal, nasty early depreciation hit for you. You get a perfectly reliable vehicle for substantially less money, you actually own it, and you finally break that exhausting cycle of perpetual monthly payments.
So, the crucial point is this. We all know cars are incredibly efficient mechanisms for converting our hard-earned income into social signaling. We want to look good. But leasing doesn't magically make an expensive car cheaper. It simply trades your long-term financial progress for short-term access and the perpetual avoidance of a larger payment today. The shiny gleam of that new car is just there to hide the reality of the math.
Which brings us right back to the beginning, our two drivers. You've got the guy in the BMW handing his keys back to just start the stressful cycle all over again. And then you've got the guy in the Civic, happily driving a completely paid-off car while his savings account just keeps growing. Now, neither is objectively wrong about what they want out of life, but only one of them is actually playing the game on his own terms. So, what does this mean for you? Are you making a conscious financial choice, or are you letting the industry choose for you? Which one are you choosing to be? Think about it. Thanks so much for joining me on today's Explainer, and I'll catch you next time.